Hello, and welcome to the PC Gamer Show for May 9th. This thing's really high. I feel like it's covering my face. 2018, not letting go of that. It's still a great year for video games. Joining me today, Tim Clark.
Is it the second week running?
Yeah, this is a record, I think, at least for 2018.
Would you say back by popular demand?
Actually, yes.
Okay.
I mean, I think you're a fan fave.
We can talk about the feedback later.
We'll just run through the list of your accolades and praise. It just doesn't end. Yeah. Welcome to the show again.
I'm not going to talk about cards at all.
No cards.
James. How about that?
Confirmed, no cards. So
Card free.
don't sweat it, everybody at home. We should be fine. We are going to talk about your other fascination, though.
Afraid so.
Destiny.
Oh, I thought you meant the other thing.
Oh, no. Talking about Destiny. What else is we going to talk about? We're going to talk about some pretty cool news.
Some Fortnite stuff, a cool new game. I'm going to talk about a game I went to see recently.
Yes, a spiritual revival, you might say, for the PC. And we'll close out with listener questions, as always. But first, I want to get to some pretty cool news. Let me ask you, have you heard of this game, Atomic Heart, before today?
Well, before today, no. I heard about it in our editorial meeting first thing this morning.
Yeah.
I missed almost everything that happened on the internet yesterday because I was playing my goofy space alien game. So this came as a surprise to me, and I still haven't watched the trailer at like full speed, non-pixelated version because Evan showed me on his computer via like a Skype call basically this morning.
We're gonna watch it without audio because I don't want to ruin it for the audio track. We're gonna watch it. We're gonna watch this trailer that just kind of came out of nowhere.
Can you do the sounds for me?
No, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. I tried doing that for the water, where the water tastes like wine, and I'll never live it down.
Should we describe it for people who are only listening to the podcast?
It's kind of hard. Yeah, we'll describe it, but before we get into it, and we'll describe it as we go along, maybe what we see. But the basic premise, as I understand it, or at least like the way Tim put it, Evan put it this morning, it's like Prey but better.
Yeah. People were name dropping all sorts of shit.
I was like, what?
Bioshock,
yeah.
I mean, I guess
there's some Big Daddy influences in there. There's even a boss character that looks like something out of Nier Automata. Like
Metro is another
Metro
influence that got mentioned. There's a Russian flavor.
Yeah, I think it's developed by a Russian team.
The developer's called...
Oh my god, I have it written down.
Mindfish, is that?
Mindfish. No, it's where'd it go? Mundfish.
Mundfish.
It's a pretty good name. I like saying that. But yeah, let's just like play this and let it wash over our eyeballs. It's pretty astounding.
Okay, I'm going to try and describe it for people who are only listening. We're in the forest. It's a Russian forest. There's almost like what looked like there's a guy, bloodbath, ratchet, a horse, stalky things. I don't know what that is.
It gets pretty weird pretty quick.
It's pretty surreal.
Robot arm, a lot of like kind of old Sputnik Soviet like imagery.
Drones.
Yeah.
Commie drones. Lady in a top jumping.
Guns.
Guns.
It wouldn't be a PC game.
That's definitely got like a Big Daddy sort of vibe. That's like a... Wow.
Little claw, spinny robot.
You can see why James and I managed to make a living describing things.
This is not theater of the mind at all. I'll post a link to it.
Someone just had both of their eyes stabbed out, and there's a guy like a clown.
Wouldn't be a video game without some kind of asylum. This is what I like.
Oh, well, Fallout's another thing referenced. That's definitely got that kind of retro sci-fi,
like post-apocalypse vibe. A big fat robot that spins in the air.
Some menu screens which look a lawsuit away from Destiny 2's menu screens. And the game is called Atomic Heart.
Yeah, and it just kind of it came out of nowhere. It's been like it's a known quantity in that like there was a teaser that came out like 8 months ago when I went and looked at it on YouTube. So it's been out there, but this teaser dropped yesterday, and collectively we all kind of lost our mind because it visually and what appears to be gameplay wise, it references.
There's a lot going on in that minute and a half or so.
And just the art style is so up my alley. I like weird fiction. I like weird sci-fi.
What's the track record of the studio making it? What else have they done?
Nothing. That's what worries me. Is like, what are we seeing here? Like, are we seeing like a super vertical slice curated?
Well, the sheer amount of diversity of stuff going on. I mean, I don't know anything about the developer, unfortunately. Probably should have done some research before I came in.
I did. I went and looked and tried to look at their legacy and like, but they're Russian based, if I'm not mistaken. And it's like, there's no, usually these people, like if they put out a game like this, they say, you know, featuring team members from X, you know, amazing game that came out, you know.
It is some sort of Russian trap. It's actually, there is no game. This is all part of the American style.
It's going to activate.
I was going to say to ensnare the minds of young gamers, but I think that's already happened. So
yeah, but that's Atomic Heart, and go look up the trailer because watch it for yourself. Yeah, mundfish.com. Thanks, Evan, in the chat. Really fascinating.
Does it have a release date? I was so busy focusing on the horse in the bath of blood that I didn't notice any text.
No release date as far as I can tell, but it's pretty bizarre.
I mean, who knows if it'll actually end up being any good, but isn't it exciting when something like this just sort of drops like the proverbial bolt from the blue, like a game that isn't a sequel, wasn't anticipated, seems to have some pretty cool influences, has some nice tech going on.
I think, yeah, it excites me.
I feel almost nervous about being optimistic about it.
I know, right? But I think ideally it is like an indication of the future of these kind of single-player games, that these immersive sims that we have declared dead many times before. Everyone's declared dead many times before. Like the ability to create games, the tools have become so widespread, and like so many of these design practices that make up these things have become embedded in so many designers that I think it's going to be easier to make these, for smaller teams to make games of this kind of scale and of this type.
This strikes me as quite a bold claim.
That's like in my perfect mind.
This fucking guy.
I'm not saying
your immersive sim?
I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying ideally I would like to imagine that's why it will be good and may be good and it can exist.
I always feel a bit like nervy when like the influences are like Fallout, Bioshock, like absolute like classics, probably a bit Stalker in there as well, because it sets such a high bar, right? And those are all games made by pretty big teams. Yeah,
massive teams over the course of like 6 years or whatever. Yeah. So. Either way, cool thing. Now you know about it. You want getting a little closer to that mic? I'm gonna bump you up too, but before we do that, I'm
almost touching it.
That's fine. I'm gonna bump you up on the system here.
Juice me up on
but
that, Shane.
I'm gonna let you take the reins of this before I do that. We have some pretty cool news that dropped this morning, I believe, regarding E3 and the PC gaming show of your
PC gaming show is back.
It is back.
Same day of the week, the Monday of E3, which is June 11th. I've been dealing with this all the time, but feel like I need to check. It's June 11th, but at 3 o'clock Pacific time. So it's in the afternoon. We'll be after Ubisoft. Evan and I are kind of working on making sure the show's filled with cool reveals. We're trying to focus this year more and more on like the future of PC gaming, kind of gazing at the horizon, at the cool stuff that's coming, not just in terms of software, but also hardware as well this year. We're trying to kind of bring a bit more of that good stuff in. I think we're going to have some really fun reveals. Sean, Day 9 Plot, is back as host. And he'll be joined by a couple other people who will reveal later down the line. New venue for anyone thinking of going. There's a story at the top of the homepage right now on PCGamer.com. Where if you do happen to be in LA during E3, you can grab a ticket easily enough and come and see the show in person, hang out with us. I'll be the one kind of ghostly white and sweating heavily. We're excited. It's a labour of love. It's a labour of stress every year. Our goal is always to try and bring the band back together, bring together kind of the many corners of PC gaming, from kind of AAA, indie, hardware, community stuff, and do something that's representative of what the platform is. Cool. So check it out. It's going to be about 90 minutes long again, give or take.
Right on.
Bunch of new stuff to see.
And for those of you who are wondering about tickets, if you're going to be in Los Angeles area, you can go to pcgaming.com/tickets to claim those.
Yeah, you just need to be able to get to the Wilton Theatre.
And I hear the Wilton is like Google images of the Wiltern because it looks like I think Evan described it as like Rapture pre the fall.
Yeah,
because it's some pretty wild.
LA's full of these kind of like cool faded Baroque theaters, and
Yeah.
we've tended to do the show at one of those each year. So I think it's going to be really fun.
It's gonna be cool. I'm excited to see what goes down. Cool. Sounds awesome. Let's move on to what we've been playing though. Enough of this news. What about us? What about us? And I think, well, besides the topics at hand, have you been touching anything else besides Destiny 2 before we dive into that?
I have, but it would involve talking about card games, and I feel like 2 weeks in a row is probably too
So
much.
just bullet point Hearthstone.
Yeah.
There you go.
I've been watching. It was the European summer playoffs last weekend, and then this weekend is the North American summer playoffs. So I've been watching the pros play better than me, basically.
Cool.
Yeah. I'm trying to. I will say one thing. So I'm trying to get like a 500 wins with the mage class, and mage is not in a good spot in the current meta.
Oh, man.
So I'm playing a mage deck
goes.
that's really slow, and I've still got to squeak out another 60 wins. So it's a grind.
Well, best of luck.
Thanks, man.
Best of luck.
Appreciate it.
But let's address, because I haven't been playing anything else besides Fortnite and Destiny 2.
Okay.
So let's just get right into Destiny 2. Destiny 2 Warmind released yesterday. It's the second of the first two expansions in this first
It's the
season
second
pass.
of the little DLCs, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, that kind of concludes the season pass. Those two
Yeah.
DLCs. If you buy them standalone, I think they're $20 each.
Okay.
And it's been interesting kind of watch people debate the value of that $20 because the story campaign is very short.
Right.
I played pretty much. I've got like 3 characters because I'm like a disgusting sick addict. So I played just on one character, my main, which is Warlock, yesterday, and knocked the story off probably in a 2 or 3 hours max. I mean, it's really like, depending on how you want to cut the cake, it's the campaign is like 3 to 5 missions. And people got pretty grumpy about that, especially because 2 of those missions are then reused as strikes. Strikes are the kind of repeatable 3-player activities. And I understand those frustrations. People were kind of like, and especially I think the lore guys are really losing their shit about it, because there was quite a bit of talk of like, we're going to bring back this character who was only talked about in the first game called Anna Bray, who's this like super cool hunter lady who's like a big figure in the lore. And she, as I saw someone, well, I think she's quite funny actually and interesting. But like someone said, she's basically just a red key card. Like you're introduced to her and she opens one door and then that's that. She just becomes.
That's what I mean by she sucks. Like there's this
She's
really
just a
cool
vendor,
cinematic that introduces her, and then she's
But-
kind of there and then not.
Counterpoint.
Okay.
What I don't know what people expected. They've been doing these. They've been doing for the little expansions like this. They're always like this. They're always like a very small campaign. Some characters get introduced and completely underused. You're back off on your own. Your guardian doesn't speak. He's never probably going to speak, or she's never going to speak. Stop worrying about that. It's just not going to happen.
Yep.
And then on top of that, what you do get is like some post-campaign stuff where you get some adventures to play through. There's some quest lines to run to get some exotics and stuff. So here's my thing with it, right? For $20, like I was still playing that game when there was literally nothing to do in it. So just having something new to do in it is exciting. Like it was exciting enough to me to take the day off work. I know I'm like a horrendous apologist. I understand why people are mad at it. It was still exciting enough for me to take the day off work and play the stupid thing till like 3 a.m. The big problem, I think, amongst other problems they've got, is like, this is May now, and beyond some balance changes and some quality of life stuff, this has to then see through the community till September, when the big expansion comes out, which will be more like a kind of full price game. And I think they're going to really struggle with that. Stuff I liked a lot was what they've done, which is actually not part of the expansion. So even if you don't want to play it, you can jump in and try, which is the Season 3 update.
Some really good stuff in there.
They've kind of they've rebalanced a bunch of the exotic weapons, which too many of them were boring and underwhelming, and they've made them so they're master workable. You have to go and find these catalysts in the world and then grind them. I had 2 drop yesterday, so kind of I got one for Darcy and one for the Crimson, so like encouraging you to dust off some of those weapons and play with them. The most fun I had was a gun I was really looking forward to, because they've been drip feeding kind of previews of these weapons, and there was one that I want to say famously, but obviously not famously, but I wrote about when I first previewed D2, called the Graviton Lance, which is like a void pulse rifle, and it was really underwhelming originally. In that it looked cool, it sounded cool, but the impact was like just terrible. Basically, it was really kind of ineffective, and they basically have like jacked it up now so that any kill, not even just precision kills, there you go, will trigger this kind of void black hole explosion. The actual lore of the gun is that it fires 2 shots. The first one basically drills a hole through kind of the air to make space for this black hole, and then once the black hole goes off, it spawns these Axion Seekers, which are kind of like more little mini explosions. And if you're using it for crowd control, you can just chain all this complete purple carnage. And I was just grinning as I was using it. It was like they took a gun that was like legit one of the worst guns in the game and made it straight away one of the most fun guns I've shot in an FPS. So there's a lot of fun in kind of just jumping back in and trying out some weapons in your inventory that were unloved and had kind of got dusty. But going back to what I was saying about the lore stuff, so Anna Bray's this cool character who's completely underused, and then the real lore masters / nerds are super mad because the big bads in the game, and I think this is not spoilers at all, this was in the trailers, so there's like this hive, the hive are kind of the zombie aliens. There's this hive prince called Nokris, who's like the brother of Crota, the son of Oryx. He was so evil, he was struck from the hive's own record, right? And he's just like a boss at the end of one mission, and you just like fuck him up and then he's gone. Like there's no preamble. And then so Nokris had made this, I mean, I'm giving it too much credit, but Nokris had made this pact with one of the worm gods, and the worm gods have been talked about a lot in the lore of the Taken King, which was an expansion for the first game. And they were these kind of, no one was quite sure, you know, are they actual worms, or are they like dragons, or are they kind of more like metaphorical gods, blah, blah, blah. And it's basically just, in the game, it's just this big, you've seen the movie Tremors, right? Like imagine a flying one of those, but more underwhelming. And you just have this boss fight where you just shoot it in the mouth a bit. And I feel sorry for a little bit for Vicarious Visions, who seem like a really cool studio. This expansion was outsourced to them. They're based out of New York. They came in, I can't remember, I did play one of the games they did before they were working with Bungie.
Didn't they do a couple God of War like PSP games and such?
I'm not too sure, but yeah, I've actually met some of those guys. They seem really nice. And I think they've done a lot of good work on this expansion. I think there's a lot beyond the kind of anemic campaign. There's a lot of new stuff to kind of chase for. There's still a bunch of reskin stuff as well, honestly. But I think it's probably going to be better than Curse of Osiris overall. But I read a thing saying they were desperate to put a boss battle in, and I think boss battles just don't quite. So here's the problem with their storytelling. Those big boss battles don't tend to work outside of a raid, because
that's exactly
what makes them fun is like the mechanics of having 6 people coordinate to shoot a big thing, but just you shooting a big thing in the mouth is kind of usually a bit sucky. And the other thing is like Bungie and their support studios just, I don't think, have found a way of incorporating other characters into like the narrative thread of you being in an FPS. Like if you think about what they did for D2, they had that first mission, Homecoming, where you were going through the shattered tower and you saw the different members of the Vanguard and stuff, and it was like, oh cool, maybe the whole game's going to be like this. And then you literally didn't see them again until the end of the game, and I knew it was going to be like that, because I remember saying to like Bungie at the time, like, oh, so do they come on any missions with you and do stuff? And they're like, not exactly. So I think like short of like them kind of tearing up the rule book of how they tell stories, you just have to expect this is what these little expansions are going to be like, and go with your chosen worm god as to whether you're in or you're out. I don't see this. I think we were going to write about this later in the week, James, but I don't see it bringing a ton of people back. Although I think Bungie have been quite savvy. They're currently selling the game for like $12, the base game, as part of Humble Bundle, and I think you can get it. There was a store selling it even for 10 as well. I can't remember which one now. So they're desperately trying to get people back in. I was amused because we talked a little bit about whether we were going to go back and play some PvP with Austin, another one of our writers. And I was reading a post this morning where someone had, because I wrote a very silly small op-ed about, they put this really cool gun behind one of the playlists, the hardcore playlist, basically the competitive one. And it's a really sweet gun. I really wanted it, but I suck at PvP. And like I was kind of debating whether I was going to kind of just, you know, bite down on it and try and play this mode. But someone did the maths this morning of like, if you've got like a 50% win rate, right? You know, you win as many as you lose. then the way the win streaks and loss streaks work, it would take you something like 220 games to get to the rank for this gun, which is basically the third highest rank. And if you think like most of the games are going to be running at least 10 minutes, that's like an incredible commitment. Like I know what it takes to like grind to legend in Hearthstone, and you're looking at like probably 500 games, but the games are shorter. And that, I mean, that was actually in the olden days when you didn't start higher up the ladder. But I just can't see me doing that. So that's kind of a pity, because I was looking forward to trying that. But yeah. What have you? I've talked a lot. What have you made of it so far?
You know, yeah, I sat down and then sat up, and I was almost done with the campaign. But whatever. Like I don't think that's like the meat of it for me. Like it's fun to like run through those once. What's interesting to me, more interesting, I think a lot better from what I can tell, is the overworld, or the planetary space
for Mars.
Because
at least you can use your bike this time. Like I mean,
that's one reason.
Mercury, you could barely swing a cat.
But it's stretched out. It feels like this long, like a corridor, and then these two sort of wider areas and
bowls.
Yeah, and on each there is like a public event kind of going back and forth, which is nice. Yeah. Like if you're just
did you try the new escalation protocol?
Well, and that's what I like, is because you have these areas that are covered, and then like spread out, like basically above it all. You always have the option of doing the escalation. Is that what it's called?
So there's regular public events like Defend the Warsat, which is ritual. But yeah, escalation protocol is like a 7-wave horde mode.
And it's tough.
It's really hard. Like, so the recommended light level for it, which is your power level, is 380. And like after I'd finished the story and done like most of my weekly milestones, I was still like, the most I could get to is 348. So it's rough. You can get like 9 players in there if you coordinate though. And I was watching last night one of the best streamers who does the kind of the toughest PvE challenges, a guy called Slayer Rage. His team got to level 7 like multiple times. And this was at like 2 a.m. I was foolishly still up watching them, and they couldn't get it done, which is good, because like it means there's room to grow into it.
Yeah.
But it's on like I managed to do level 1 with one group, and beyond that it was like no chance.
I mean, and that's worrisome to me, I suppose, because those open worlds, you can only roll in with a fire team of 3. So how can you? Like,
you have to hope you can try and.
I think game it.
Yeah, I think there's ways of gaming it. Like you probably leave the fire team you're with and then invite some more people to a new fire team, and you can get lucky as well if there's like, because other people can just join. It's instanced, right? So they can just join in. But that's a very mixed bag. Like you would need to plan, I think, to do this stuff. But I mean, you know, as people get better it might not be an issue. Weapons and stuff, I'm sure it'll become less of an issue. But the problem is, I think, like, because the story mode is so thin, once you come out of it, you're naturally looking for stuff to do, and there are adventures and the exotic quests, but you see this escalation protocol because everyone's trying it. They're like, oh, that looks cool. You get your ass handed to you, and maybe you don't come back. So I think I don't know how. I mean, that speaks to like the existential problem the game has. Is like, who do they cater for? The people who are going to like be here in 3 or 4 months still grinding the bloody thing, or the people who want to just have fun on day one? I don't know. It's a tough one.
But I mean, like, I appreciate that as like a new thing to do. I've yet to really get any new loot or see any of the new stuff. But I think what struck me most of all is like I haven't played since Curse of Osiris much at all.
Yeah.
And the season 3 changes are just overall like it's so much faster feeling, and it's so much like
because you didn't play the Go Fast update.
No, I missed that, and I rolled in with Crimson, which is a gun I don't even know what they did to it.
They changed it quite a bit, but not in a flashy way. People basically worked out that Crimson is a hand cannon pistol that fires like a pulse rifle, but people worked out that it was like worse than both pulse rifles and hand cannons in terms of DPS, like because of the pattern of the shots and the range and blah blah blah. So they fixed a lot of that stuff with it, and I think if you get the masterwork catalyst for that, which I have, but I haven't finished doing it. You have to get precision shots to finish it, like a lot of precision shots.
Shit.
It maxes the range out for the gun completely to 100. So we're working on a post actually about how all those different masterworks work, and I think that kind of stuff is what's smart, because they're kind of like long-term grindy things just to do. They give you a reason just to be in the game.
Yeah, and I mean, like it was kind of jarring to me, because like I whip out this gun, and all of a sudden, previously I don't know, I feel like I was over leveled, maybe a combination of being over leveled and having the update, I was just tearing through hordes
Yeah.
of hive, and I like with that gun especially, like it was no.
But
problem.
that goes back to again like the problem they have of like where do they pitch the difficulty and stuff? Because
Exactly.
I was the same with the story mode. Like I blew through it. I think the worm killed me once, but otherwise I just blew through it. And then on one of the exotic quests I had to do, it was like you need to go and do 5 heroic strikes, which are the new tier of difficult strikes. Weirdly, they're more difficult than the Nightfall now.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's insane.
What?
But this is again it, because the Nightfall has to be available to all players, right?
Oh.
So if you haven't bought the expansion, you're not at that level cap. So it's stuff like that's really like incongruous. But anyway, yeah, I got into these heroic strikes, and they were like level 350. I was like 340 at that point. So it was tough. Like the strikes were taking me double probably what they would.
Okay.
Which again felt slightly weird on day one, but maybe
Right.
it's fine. Like I don't want to say that it was too hard, because it wasn't, and in a week's time it'll be easy, I'm sure. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't like finished everything yet, so it's hard for me to say. Like, I don't think I'm gonna be playing Destiny like in a week or even 2. There is the raid layer, final raid layer.
Yeah, it comes out Friday.
Comes out Friday.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons. So, like, last apologist thing I'll say, and then I'll say something mean. Like, for $20, like the raid is usually, I think, like worth the price of entry. I love raiding. I love playing as groups. Yes, it sucks that there's not a good in-game LFG, and there's like comms could be better and stuff. For all the people kind of rolling their eyes in chat or just saying like dead game, Bungie suck. Like I get it, honestly. Like I've been on the ride
been
for
frustrating.
4 years, and it's like I've never seen like a AAA game kind of like seemingly get its design goals from one sequel to another so misaligned with what I think the community wanted. Like there was a great story on without wanting to like talk up another website. There was a really good story on The Verge that said like the failure of Destiny 2 is a teachable experience for other developers. And I think in some ways, yes and no, like because it's almost so. Some of the things they did were so weird. I almost think like I don't know how much there is to learn from it. Like I still hold out. I had a nagging feeling yesterday, because obviously, like of all the platforms, I think it's in the roughest place by far on PC, because fundamentally there's so much more choice for PC gamers, and there's so much used to shared world games, and they're much. I think PC gamers are naturally and rightly kind of critical and analytical, and have kind of like laughed at some of the failures that have happened. I still think the game has the potential to find a strong home on PC, but you end up having to say, well, it'll probably be the next expansion in September, and then you're always kind of like little girl Annie singing tomorrow, there'll always be another expansion away. Like,
yeah,
the word seems to be that they're making some pretty drastic changes for them, but then also, how much do you want to give them the benefit of the doubt? I don't know. I didn't go to the community summit or whatever. I can't even pretend to know.
It's impossible to know, because with the Taken King, they turned Destiny 1 around,
which was having different but similar problems.
issues, and we went into Destiny 2 thinking it would be a continuation of that kind of mindset, and it was not. No. So I have faith they will change a lot.
Yeah, but will it be too late?
But to what end? Yeah, and
so that Graviton Lance, really fun.
Fucking good. And I think, hey, I think it's worth like saying that for $12 right now, Destiny 2 is like a really good value. It's a very fun shooter.
I mean, look, what I've always said is like, one of the reasons I didn't review it was because I feel like I'm too close to it, right? But Tom, who reviewed it, and I agreed with at the time, sort of said this is a game you can pick up and play for like 50, 60, maybe even 80 hours and have a great time with. Then you'll hit a wall. Steadily they're adding to it. Steadily they're adding, quality of life improvements. I think for $10, it's an insanely good game. Yeah. Like insanely good. But again, appreciate people will be raging at that comment.
Yeah, it is not the final game. It is not that pipe dream, but
yeah,
it's a pretty good shooter.
Yeah,
still a lot of fun.
Runs great as well.
Oh, so good on the PC. It feels great. But yeah, it's Destiny 2.
Is that the show over? I feel like I've talked for about
Warmind expansion. Yeah. No, we got more to talk about. Now it's
someone in chat. Please ask me a question about it later, so I don't feel like such a fool.
Actually, there is a Destiny 2 Fortnite question that I think you'll have a lot to chew on. But let's talk about,
should we talk about Fortnite?
Let's talk about Fortnite, because what the fuck? What the fuck?
Yeah, when I first read this, I was like, is this good? Like, is this good? Is it good? Is this the point where, because games have, I don't know what, I'm so tired, James. I was up for 3 a.m. Is this the point where like games go full McDonald'sified and every big movie or cultural event has like has a sponsored tie-in? And I wonder what money change hands. Like, are they paying for Thanos to be in the game? Is Fortnite? Or is it just like they're all like, sweet, Thanos is cool.
I don't think it was like, hey buddy, I play Fortnite, like they said in the blog. Like, I love Fortnite. I'm the director of Avengers. No. Yeah, just hey buddy, pop my guy in the game.
I've dealt with some big companies. It's not usually that chill.
No. But for those of you who don't know, this last Tuesday during week 2 of season 4 of Fortnite, the new the limited time mode introduces Thanos from Avengers Infinity War. He's fully modeled, licensed character in the game, and in this mode, the Infinity Gauntlet, it plays like the normal 1v99 mode.
Wait, completely talk me through it. A game begins.
Yes.
Are all games Thanos games now, or do you have to be in Thanos mode?
You choose it. It's a limited time mode, so you choose from a playlist. It starts like a normal solo free-for-all 1v99 game. The first storm circle is already placed though, so it's a little quicker. And players roll in, and then I don't know, like 10 seconds in, this meteorite crashes to the ground, and lo and behold,
guess who? It's your boy Thanos.
Well, not quite. It's the Infinity Gauntlet.
Oh, right.
So, and that shows up on everyone's radar, so everyone can see where it's at, and it's kind of a mad dash to go get it from there. And then whoever picks it up becomes our big California raisin.
Wait, isn't the smart move not to rush to the place immediately?
Well, you know what I mean. It just like becomes this like magnet within Yeah. So, you're worrying about other players and gunning for the gauntlet at the same time. Someone gets it, they can become Thanos. They shoot into the sky and load his skin. And I actually have a couple. I have some footage here. I'll get whipped up in a bit. And from there, you have the ability to. Well, you get 800 health, which is normally 100 health.
So that's
8
lot. Times more.
Yeah, you have a 200 HP shield, which recharges with every kill. And normally you only have a 100 HP shield that you need magic juice to recharge. He can do this really cool leap into the air that like takes a couple seconds to charge up, and then he literally gets like into the sky and then crashes back down.
I'm guessing he doesn't use regular guns though. He's just
no. He can't build. He can just use that jump, his laser fist, and he can punch. So pretty basic.
Wait, so what does the fist do? It just shoots a laser.
Yes, he can just.
But in the movie, it can do more than that.
It can, it can change the universe with the snap of his fingers. Not in this. Not. I think Thanos.
That caused design problems, did it?
I know it's pretty. Yeah, it wouldn't be much fun. And so it's a really novel, interesting thing. We'll talk about sort of like you said.
I got to say, if it is the McDonald'sification of games, it is a pretty fun way of doing it. Right?
Yeah, I entered it like really cynical because I'm like, fuck Marvel movies. They're fucking, because I'm that guy. I'm that guy. Sorry.
If Thanos was in Frostpunk, I think that would be bad.
Yeah,
because of the game Fortnite is, maybe Fortnite is like, it feels like dropping a sweet plastic toy into an already colourful.
Yeah, it makes sense within Fortnite's current structure at the moment. Let me show you guys like the Thanos character model. Things people have been doing. It's like free advertising for both parties, you might say. Let's get this one here. All of the dance emotes still work with the Thanos character model.
Yeah, it's hard to know what attracted the two biggest popular culture IPs to each other.
who could I don't know, man. But yeah, it's a fascinating thing watching this big purple man break down.
They've really captured the gravitas and sadness of James Brolin's performance in the film.
I know. It's funny because when you play as him, like I don't know what the fuck he says, whatever he says in the movie, like you'll get the Josh Brolin voiceover, the reckoning of the universe.
Says a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, he says a bunch of nonsense.
Have you been? How many times have you been Thanos?
I've been Thanos once, and
did you kill anyone while you were Thanos?
I got a couple of people down, but when you become Thanos, everyone can still see you on the radar.
Yeah.
So everyone's gunning for you, and if you get enough people on your ass, it's pretty tough to recover.
Wait, does it mean the game is inherently the last person standing is always Thanos?
Not always, because you can kill Thanos.
But then you would become Thanos
if you pick up the glove, because he drops the glove. So you don't just become him. It's pretty fascinating, like twist.
Have you got any tips for like if you're 1v1ing Thanos?
If you're 1v1ing Thanos, build, because build high because his jump takes time to charge, and it's kind of arcing the downward part of it. It's hard to really aim precisely. I think they did that on purpose, so you can't just like snipe dudes.
Are there any weapons that are particularly effective against him?
You want to chip away at snipers, so you chip away at his health, because his health cannot regenerate in any way, only his shield if he kills someone. Pick at him from a distance if you can, and then hide. I've seen a lot of people do some interesting stuff with bushes. In particular, let me show you this. If you wear a bush, if you're wearing a bush while you pick up the Infinity Gauntlet, this happens. Let's get this right here. Thanos maintains the bush. I'm sure Marvel is just fine with their property being depicted like this.
That's definitely in the style guide.
It is. Among other things, like there's some funny glitches. I have this post I'll link to in chat that just kind of gathers all the funny shit.
What's the reaction been like? Are people enjoying it?
Yeah, a lot. It's a really fun mode that isn't just like a power trip for the player in charge, because they've balanced it such that there are multiple Thanos players in a match, almost guaranteed, unless you know the person you're playing against is like super talented. And it really changes. It forces players to almost into that campy mode of play rather than like the original, or excuse me, the normal solo mode is you can be pretty aggressive if you're decent, and people are much more careless. And this, like, everyone's sneaking around, being quiet. And it's kind of funny. Here's a nice little glitch where the Thanos skin didn't load while someone was wearing their pink bear costume. And I love this one in particular. So there are some green screens in the new map update that you can stand in front of, and this is one of the new emotes in Season 4, where someone just throws popcorn at their face. It's meant for like when you're observing a squad battle happen that you're not a part of, but someone just did a nice green screen and inserted Thanos into some Avengers movie. I don't fucking know which one. Yeah. It's a cool thing. It's really hard for me to like evaluate it because it's going to be here and then gone, and maybe never back, who knows. But I think it's certainly interesting because, you know, you mentioned the McDonald'sification of games. This, I guarantee you, like, once this came out, everyone started just like emailing at like their contacts at Epic. How can we get the Trix Rabbit in this shit? Like, what do we do?
Do you remember Hamburglar?
Like, what do we do? So I don't anticipate seeing the Joker in PUBG tomorrow or whatever, but I think this is for certain games, free-to-play games especially, where everyone has access to them, or you know, more people have access to them. We can count on seeing this kind of thing happen.
Yay.
If it's fun,
like I like this one. I don't know if I want like a lot more of them.
Yeah, it could be crass. This one's fine because like the two big things in the world right now together, it's like, yeah, you're not really advertising to me because I know these
generally
exist.
speaking, I don't like universes being merged. Like I said, I think Fortnite is the kind of universe that can absorb it because it's so like goofy anyway.
Yeah.
But like when we were talking before, probably on the show, James, about that Final Fantasy crossover in Assassin's Creed Origins.
Oh, that was
and I thought that
weird.
sucked.
Especially because like there's no.
It just felt stupid. I didn't want to use the anime sword.
No, it was probably novel for like 6 people who were like, I love both these games. And like, whoa. Sorry, I shouldn't make fun of nerds because here we are. Yeah. But I don't know. I think it could be abused very easily, and I don't know. It's a wild new frontier for advertising in games if you can get Thanos in a Fortnite battle royale.
Has the population, would you say, like migrated over from the regular playlist to playing this more?
It's all full. Like, and there's not an easy way to know, but
yeah, right.
I matchmake in seconds.
Queue times are quick for
it's
everything.
So quick. It's so quick. There's a lot of people playing that fucking game. I'll tell you what. But moving on.
The newspaper. Are we moving on? I got one more thing to say.
Yeah, sure.
I've seen there's a lot of like stories in the mainstream press about Fortnite now. It's hit that level of kind of cultural ubiquity. Like there was that like ridiculous one I think in the New York Times that was like about was it in the New York Times about Hot Pockets and Fortnite and people just being like,
there was some awful headline or like tweet.
Then some other like newspapers in the UK have been running stuff as well. It's just I don't have much more to say other than like it's interesting to see the game hit now that level of pop culture. I mean, you were writing about rapping and the big rap.
There's a decent rap scene, decent sized rap scene, Fortnite rap scene. It's
You
everywhere.
can't say that about Heroes of the Storm, I suspect.
Probably not. It was really funny actually because I was playing Fortnite on Sunday and I got this clutch squad victory royale.
Who's in your squad now?
It was randos actually, and I carried whatever. I'm getting good enough at this game. I can have.
You're getting good enough that you're becoming an asshole.
Yeah, pretty much. And I log off, see the news see like a rumor about like Thanos breaking, coming to Fortnite on the forums, or excuse me, the subreddit, and then I like hop off to watch Silicon Valley with Adriana, and the opening moments of that are a Fortnite joke. Wow. So it's like
it's following you,
and I go to work.
And we make you write about Fortnite.
I didn't like it at first, but Stockholm Syndrome, I suppose.
Liking it fine now?
Here I am. It's a good time. It's a great game, and I think people, if you're being cynical about it, you just haven't given it the proper shot. Let's talk about a game that I think everyone on the PC can love. 2 Point Hospital. So you went and played this, yeah?
I went to see it a couple of weeks ago, and I played for maybe like an hour or so. And met with two of the chaps who are founders. I don't want to get their names wrong now because I'll mix them up. But there's a couple of stories on the site at the moment. Sam's written a hands-on. Andy and I wrote like a quick thing about how they talked about how they weren't even sure there was still legs in that genre. They call it the little people genre.
Well, let me ask you, because I honestly have never played what was the first game called?
So 2 Point Hospital is very much the spiritual successor to the old Bullfrog game, Theme Hospital, which was kind of like a comedy hospital management sim where you would kind of treat these amusing diseases, build kind of different wards and diagnosis rooms and front desks and toilets and blah blah blah. And this the new game is like, I mean, it's like that but updated for 2018, and it's like the best thing I can say about it is I went to see it on like a Friday afternoon here in San Francisco, and I did not want to stop playing it. And that's kind of not rare, but like, I just didn't want to stop. Like, I had to stop to the interview, and I was like, but the toilets are in the wrong place. I'm not done. I actually went with my other half, who's also writes about games for a different website, and she is what is the right way to describe this? She's like basically a savant when it comes to sim type games. So she plays a ton of the Sims, but has played a ton of these kind of management games as well. And she managed to like rack up. Her hospital was making like $1 million by the end of an hour, and mine was up to like 600 grand or something. Well, I thought mine was going quite well. I'd had a few deaths, but like nothing we couldn't sweep under the carpet.
All right.
So this is some footage from that playthrough session, which they kindly sent over for me. So here's me kind of this ward ends up actually being a bit too small, and they've borrowed some stuff. Actually, you probably won't see it in this footage, but they borrowed some stuff from Skylines and stuff where you have those kind of different visualization maps. So like,
those are really nice.
Yeah, so you can look at like where all the radiators are placed in your hospital. So like where the heat's kind of which places aren't being kept warm enough, or you like where all your plants and foliage are, so that you can see, like, because plants have the effect of basically making people feel more healthy, even though I would dispute that. And so you're in this region, 2 Point County, and as you play through it, I can't remember exactly how many hospitals there were. There was something like 15. You'll kind of like, some you'll be building up from absolute scratch. Some you'll be taking on hospitals in areas that are like financially deprived, so it's hard to like hire doctors and whatever. Yep. And the hospital will already be kind of failing, and it's your job to turn it around. Okay. There's like natural disasters and kind of big events that happen, and you have to deal with. They were very much talking about like trying to make it so that you didn't just come up with a one-size-fits-all way to run a good hospital, and each time you got a new level, you just would apply your same format. There's like hiring and firing. You can kind of unlock all sorts of different kind of items, like, it's stuff you'd expect from a hospital. It's like hand sanitizers, and but it's the sense of humor is really goofy. There's a really funny PA system. There's like a radio station in the game. One of the stories Sam did this morning was that they originally had tried to get comedy radio presenter in the UK, played by Steve Coogan. They tried to get him to do the voice on the radio stations, and I think it didn't come off. But DLC maybe. But it's really just like, even though like the topic is sort of grim, like people do, like I had quite a lot of deaths. It's really funny. Like there's diseases like Grey's Anatomy where you're like, the patients are literally grey, or there's one like called lightheadedness where they have like light bulbs for heads. It's so close to the original, although obviously like they're not related to EA anymore. That you feel again like almost close to a lawsuit, but they seem pretty comfortable with with that you can see. I think the lightheadedness there with those light bulbs on those patients. And the two guys who I was chatting to were just like an absolute delight to interview. They were guys who've been working together since the Bullfrog days, working on all sorts of stuff. Back then they're kind of like magic carpets and stuff of this world, and they've just, they've kind of gone their separate ways and come back together. And they were saying, like I said, that news story we did today, that they weren't sure there was still kind of legs in this little people genre anymore of of like miniature management, but it was the success of Prison Architect and meeting those developers that they described gave them the balls to go through with this. And of course, when this was announced, there was a kind of this outpouring of nostalgia and kind of goodwill towards it. My little sister actually, or one of my sisters, was like super into these sorts of games back in the day, and like she's not into games at all anymore, but she texts me quite often going like, when's Not Theme Hospital, when's 2 Point Hospital coming out, because she wants to get back into it. It's really good fun.
Cool. So as someone who's not familiar with this at all, is this the kind of game that exists? Well, let me ask you: is it stressful and hard to parse? Is this like you're watching numbers and you really have to pay attention, or is it more just
not really? It's actually like they're still working on the UI and stuff, but you can see like it's really easy to look at like the general profit and loss down at the bottom. Just like this is your income, this is your outgoings. You can hire and fire just with one click. The rooms, once you place them, you can like those. Like I'm not. Say I decided like the staff break room was in the wrong place. I can pick up that whole room and rotate it and move it. Start editing the windows and stuff in and out. You can kind of delete a wall and expand a room. So there's real flexibility there. Because one of the things with those sorts of games is often like I've committed to a layout and the layout's fucked. Like I need to like start again. But there is an amount where you can kind of adjust stuff that's gone wrong. And they showed us some late game hospitals that were really sprawling and complicated. But yeah, the UI was really nice. It's one of those things where like it's the kind of game where like I don't know if you'd say like you get into the zone, but you get so like into the loop of like adding stuff, hiring more people, tweaking that, more money's coming in, but then there's new diseases, and you're kind of, it's got this really lovely like feedback loop where time just like frigging dissolves. Like I looked up and like an hour had just gone. So I'll definitely be playing it. And I didn't really, some critic I didn't really come away with much I didn't like about it. So yeah, I thought it was great.
Well, hell, I mean, it's exciting to me because I can't remember last time I played a game like this, except for Prison Architect. And
it's one of those games where like you really, I can tell you one thing that did bother me slightly was like, so they have like a comedy PA announcer kind of talking, making jokes about illnesses and stuff, who was really like funnily written, and the original game is really renowned for that kind of humor, but like in the build I played, like they were already starting to repeat a lot, and obviously that's going to be the case. Like if it's a game you're going to play for hours and hours and hours, there's only so much dialogue I'm sure they can write. But I did mention that to them, and they were like, "Yeah, we've got more recording sessions booked. We know."
Gotcha.
So,
do you know when this is coming out?
Oh my god, it is this year, but I can't remember the month, unfortunately.
That's cool. I'll Google it while we.
Sorry about that. I didn't write the preview, unfortunately, otherwise it'd be in my head.
Hey, no worries, no worries. That's exciting, though. I think with the right support, do you know if it's going to have Steam Workshop access?
I'm not sure, actually. Like, Sega's normally quite good on that sort of stuff, and it feels like the kind of game that would benefit from it.
Or at least
being able to make their
support.
stuff. Yeah,
I would hope so, because this is the kind of thing I could just play forever and really would thrive under a creator community. Either way, it looks like the kind of thing I would just whip up on a Sunday morning and just like
Yeah, I think it's a kind of like, it's a really great like double monitor game as well, where you might have like the other screen. Not that you need to watch a podcast, obviously, but you know what I'm saying.
I feel you. Right on.
Perhaps a Twitch stream.
And you can find more at PCGamer.com and wait for more on that, because I'm sure once we get this in the hands of Chris Livingston.
Yeah, I want to see people build some like. The thing I always love with these sorts of games is people who build like the most unbelievably beautifully efficient hospitals with like incredible layouts. But yeah, maybe we're gonna
mine's gonna look like shit and it's gonna barely run. But
yeah, the corpses, James, will be piling up at the front door.
That's how I roll.
Yeah,
cool. Well, thanks, Tim. I'm excited to play that. Let's transition out of that. We got an important question here. Chris is asking, any Pillars 2 talk today? No one that I know was playing the game that was available to be on the show, but we did review it. Go to pcgamer.com/reviews, and it got a pretty hearty recommendation from Andy
Maybe we can
Kelly.
get someone on next week to talk about it.
That would be nice.
There's probably not going to be another big review between now and next week.
No, we're moving very quickly into...
Who wrote the review for us?
PC Storm. Andy Kelly, I believe.
Okay.
I think you give it a pretty high recommendation. So... Those CRPGs, though, I just... oops, looks like our camera's freaking out. Let me fix that real quick. But let's move into listener questions while I do that. Tag PC Gamer in Twitch chat with any questions you have. We do favor questions from our club Discord. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, go to club.pcgamer.com and you can find out more. Basically a... pretty nice subscription service. You get a free game a month. You get ad-free experience on the site. Digital subscription to the magazine.
Yeah, hang out with us in the Discord server. We're in there a lot, especially you, James. Tyler's in there a fair old bit too. Oftentimes when we have we get sent like a lot of beta codes to give away, and we'll always try and like make sure the club people get looked after with those, whether that's like getting them a day early or perhaps even getting all of them.
Yeah, club.pcgamer.com. We're always trying to make it better, too. So we really, really appreciate it. First question. Let's roll right into that Fortnite Destiny combo queue I was hyping up earlier. This is from Acid Wolf. As a player of both, James, what do you think Destiny 2 could learn from, I love this autocorrect, Fork Knife, with regards to games as a service and keeping the player base engaged? Fork Knife is Fortnite. Fortnite, obviously. I don't know.
How long are the seasons in Fortnite again?
10 weeks at the moment.
So that's 2.5 months.
2.5 months. And I should say that what works, I think, for Fortnite is there's a sense of constant renewal. It's not like the seasons are these dumps of here's your content for the next 3 months. That's part of it. But especially with Season 4... that is starting to show is each week something changes, like meaningful. Season 3 was mostly like there's a new weapon that or tool that changes how you're gonna fight other players. Season 4 seems to be the map is slowly changing. So we got a big dump up front of all these craters and these new items like the hop rocks that affect your gravity, personal gravity shortly. Epic has said they want to introduce more sort of consumable, like map-specific items that you don't keep in your inventory that just affect. Maybe there's a speed boost later in the season. Maybe there's an invisibility thing. I would hate that. But also, they've since week 2, there's this kind of like research facility in the center of the biggest crater in the map, and it looked like it was in progress, like during week 1, and now like these buildings have been finished. It looks like crew came in and research crew and built this facility around this like egg-looking thing at the center of this crater. So there's like a bit of a narrative building up in the sandbox. Excuse me, the sandbox. I'm thinking of Destiny, but in the map that.
It's still like a sandbox. I mean, I would agree. The stuff you're saying about narrative, we talked before on the show about like how refreshing and smart the comet thing was. The idea of like kind of foreshadowing this event that was going to happen physically in the game world. was really smart. And Destiny in D1 used to do a little bit of that, where before an expansion they would do things like they would have the Blades of Crota, these knights start appearing from caves and stuff. And I think I'd love to think they could do a ton more like that, but they seem so glacial in terms of being able to make changes like that.
Yeah.
So that's, I guess, being able to quicken the speed with which they drop surprises in. Even stuff that, we've laughed about whether it's dumb or not with the Thanos thing. Like, imagine something in Destiny that isn't like a crossover, but where it's just like, this character's arrived just in the game from nowhere, and it affects like PvE or PvP. Like, I mean, the other thing I'd say, and this is a broader stroke probably against the game, is that fundamentally Fortnite's success is because people want to be playing that PvP experience. People I don't think have been wanting to play the Destiny 2 PvP experience, and it's one thing to lock a really cool gun behind a play mode, but like, if you're having to like trick them into playing it effectively, that's a problem, I think. Like, of course there should be good loot, but like, whenever I've come to do like the PvP stuff, I've generally regarded it as a chore and like as a means to an end of getting that loot, rather than something of like, I just like jamming PvP. And like, I think that's, I wouldn't be so patronizing to say like I've got the answers for how they make their PvP fun, but like, it's pretty clear. Yeah, it's been a problem. And
they're totally different games, but Fortnite has an irreverence that you do not see in it. Like, especially going into Destiny 2, they were holding so tightly onto the idea of balancing PvE and PvP simultaneously, and that restricted like how much. Like, it restricted how much of a hero like you could feel.
I'll
like
go
PvE.
further. I think it fucked D2.
It fucked it.
I think it fucked D2. That desire to like balance unilaterally and to try and like tamp down some of the stuff that was overpowered in terms of abilities and stuff for the sake of PvP balance was, I think, not to put too fine a point on it, a disaster. Yeah. And one like ray of potential light is that with that September expansion, we covered it last week, but they had the Activision's earnings call where they talked about that expansion and how there was this new mode in there that they haven't really revealed. But some of the YouTubers and content guys went to this summit thing at Bungie's office and played this new mode, and now can't talk about it. But Activision on the call was saying this mode's never been done in FPSs, because everyone was asking Activision about Battle Royale because of the success of Fortnite, and there was, people were putting two and two together. It ain't going to be Battle Royale, and like they were saying this mode's never been done before. It's a game changer, and like from listening to some of the people at the summit, they kind of, it felt like they came out and were like, oh, we played this new mode and it was pretty cool. I could definitely see myself playing it. They weren't kind of going, oh my god, the FPS mold has been shattered. Like, you are not going to believe it, but it probably does need new modes and stuff. Like we talked about before, the Division, I think a big part of Division's recovery was just adding more and more repeatable end game activities, which, you see the complaints about the lack of story, and I think that holds true.
Yeah. So it's a loaded question, but I think a good one and an interesting one. And
it's a loaded question they didn't ask me to answer, but I've answered anyway.
Well, I figured you'd have things to say about D2
I usually do.
In my stead. Evan in chat lists a couple more irreverent competitive games. TF2 League, is that League of Legends? I don't know if that's right. And Rocket League. So
yeah, maybe there's something to be said for like multiplayer should just be fun.
Yeah, and balance is important too.
Well, the 1 week people seem to really love D2 PvP was when they had that broken laser gun in there. Everyone called it laser
so much
tag,
fun.
right?
Stupid,
maybe that is. Evan makes a good point. Maybe that perhaps the answer is they should just go balls out zany in PvP, but then it's the studio that made Halo, right? That's not really their vibe.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a tough call for Destiny. But we'll see, I guess, soon enough what they do this fall or over the summer, or maybe never. Thanks for the question, Acid Wolf. Cootness.
I think I've played with Acid Wolf, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, props. Shout out. What did Twitch people do? Shout out, Acid Wolf. Cootness. For the show, I'm planning to build a new PC this summer, but I'm not sure what I'll do with my current computer. What do you guys do with your old machines when you get a new one? And, bonus question, do you know of any charities or nonprofits, especially in the Bay Area, because this is where Kootness lives, that accept computers as donations?
It's a good question, but it's one we've actually, I don't know the answer to it, but we've got someone right now working on exactly that feature, a piece on how to recycle your components or get rid of a whole PC in the most kind of environmentally friendly way. I'm not quite sure when that's due, so that might not be helpful to him right now.
Yeah, but you can always just throw it in you can bury it in your backyard if you want.
Just burn it.
Just burn it.
Just don't even open a window. Just
just go into your mom's basement.
Set fire to it.
Yeah. No, I will provide a link to you for the Bay Area specifically. But there, if you just Google like where I can recycle my computer, or donate.
That's your answer. Just Google it.
Well, excuse me. For your area, there are specific charities and so on. And there are a lot of Bay Area ones, Kootness, that I'll send a link to you. But
is taking stuff to the refuse site in America a thing?
Yeah.
A municipal dump?
Yeah. I mean, like at least where I'm from.
I used to love driving to the dump.
Yeah, going with my dad.
They had all like different skips with like plastics in here and electronics in there, glass in here.
It's fun. It's just like this big.
There was something dark about it as well. Like you would like, if you went enough times, eventually you'd see like a hand sticking out from all the refrigerator parts.
Yeah, you'd always catch a glimpse of something.
Love the dump.
You've never seen before. Love the dump. You heard it here. But if I'm not recycling my PC, I in the past have turned one into a media server or.
What do you think about like selling them through like Craigslist or Facebook ads and stuff? You'd be worried that somehow James's data would still be on there.
It depends where you're at, I think, when you're doing that. But I've definitely.
I don't want to know what's on James's computer.
Yeah. I'll wipe that shit. Trust me. eBay and all stuff.
I had a girlfriend once who had a laptop that she wanted to get rid of, but was so nervous that it wouldn't be wiped properly that she made me drive my car over it like 3 times. Yeah.
What the fuck?
I don't know what she had on that.
At my
laptop.
old job at the university, I worked IT support for like the entire student body of the University of Montana, and some of student affairs. And there was like a lot of private data that sometimes we had these old hard drives, and we had this fucking machine. You just like toss hard drives into, and it pulverizes them. It was so cool.
It chewed them up?
Yeah, it would like stab them and chew them up, and it was rad.
They had, like, I used to work in TV, and we used to use old Beta SP tapes, which were like, they were like big fat tapes.
Yeah.
And we had to have this huge magnet machine to wipe them.
Ooh.
It's probably ruined my balls or something.
Well, I'm sorry, man.
The big magnet. How do magnets work?
I don't know.
There's a song about that.
Good question, Kootness. The Mad Dandies. So this one's a bit off topic, but maybe ancillary to the things we like. What are you reading? You reading anything lately?
Yeah.
Yeah, what are you reading?
I am reading The Thousand Suns by Graham McNeil, which is a Warhammer 40,000 book.
Oh, fucking A.
Yeah.
Well, you liking it?
Yeah.
Right on.
So I read one right before. I read what was the one I read before? Legion, which was about the Alpha Legion. So I'm basically just reading the Horus Heresy ones. Like, I found this post on like 40k Reddit, which was like a tier list for Warhammer books, and it was like God tier, or it was like, in fact, they did Emperor tier down to shit tier. So I'm just trying to like, I'm not going chronologically. I'm just like starting with the ones that are best thought of. Really? But yeah, they're real like comfort food. I'm not a very nostalgic guy, but I was really into 40k growing up, so it's just kind of fun. I like Space Marines. I like reading about them.
I mean, like playing Vermintide 2 really got me weirdly thirsty for some pulpy fiction in that universe. Even though I hear the Warhammer books during the end times are pretty bad, but cool. I'm reading a bunch of pretentious shit.
Just going through Infinite Jest for the 6th time.
For the 7th time. The rattiest pages you've ever seen. I'm reading Society of the Spectacle by Guide to Board. It's like basically a reinterpretation of the Communist Manifesto.
Oh my God. Tyler's led you astray.
This is actually a Tyler recommendation, and it's pretty interesting, if not incredibly hard to parse. Funhouse by Alison Bechtel.
Dude, read some 40k books. Come on.
You know Funhouse? Funhouse is a graphic novel. It's got pictures for you.
Comic.
It's a comic memoir by Alison Bechtel, and it's actually really intimate and sad and heartwarming and everything at once. It's really nice. This is one our listeners might like. Is Born by Jeff Vandermeer, and you might have seen the movie Annihilation.
I have
recently. Yeah. It's based on a book by this man, the Southern Reach trilogy. Born.
I thought the film was really good, but you didn't like it.
Nah, man. No. But we won't go into that.
Okay.
I think we're just on 2 distant mountaintops in regards to that. But Born is it's a separate science fiction universe by Jeff, and it involves, the pitch is this: it's like post-apocalypse. Biotech is a huge factor in this world, and there is a massive, I'm talking like building-sized bear that can fly. Doesn't have wings, but it can somehow fly.
Wait, a bear?
Called Mord that is just wrecking the world. Yeah.
How big is the bear?
It's
building
like
size.
Building size.
Like
it keeps growing.
Size.
It keeps growing, and no one knows why. And then one
Dude,
day,
that sounds shit.
One day, it sounds shit. It sounds shit.
It sounds like absolute nonsense.
But it works. It works.
Does it?
Yeah. This guy does.
Is the bear a metaphor? Because if so, I'm not into it.
No, they don't really spin it as like.
Is the whole story an allegory? Like the bear is democracy?
No, it's honestly just like biotech might be fucked up, and like this is it definitely.
I don't need a massive bear to tell me that.
It's a fun way to explore that. It's really like interesting, and it's got some good action scenes, some cool characters, and a nice heart at the center. It's fucking good.
Sounds bad.
Go away. That's what I'm reading or have read recently. Thanks for the question. Mox. I like this one. Are there any games you'd like to experience from another character's perspective in that game? So an example they gave is Half-Life Blue Shift. You play as like a security guard. Or what's the other Opposing Force where you play as the whatever the fucking guy's name is? Anything come to mind for you?
So I'm sure there are. I'm trying to think of like with something like a GTA, would I have wanted to play as anyone other than like Trevor, Michael, and who was the other one? Who was the other one?
I don't remember much about that game in general. The GTA 4 did pretty good on that like kind of fantasy. You got to play as like these side characters in the DLC, which is pretty cool. For me, I just can't stop thinking about BioShock games lately, and I would love to play something like
That's the little sister.
Pre-Rapture. I mean, BioShock 2, you play as little sister for a little bit, but during the events of BioShock 1 or Infinite, or like it'd be an interesting way to explore that place, maybe from a higher tier in society or something, and witness the fall of it firsthand. Otherwise, nothing really comes to mind.
Yeah, nothing's jumping out as me because the characters. So I think the reason I'm struggling with it is because I think the characters are so often pretty thin ciphers anyway that like switching from one to another probably wouldn't make like
they're the chosen one
whole amount of
empty
difference.
Man who you play as to experience like
everything.
Everything happens at you too in most games.
I am really trying to think of a less shit answer, but
it's all good, man.
But I can't.
It's all good. Interesting question. We'll sleep on it. Here we go. Oh, that's our Discord questions. Let's go up to our Twitch chat ones. I'm loving BattleTech. Y'all reviewed it well, and I thought the review was spot on. Is it getting any play amongst your staff?
Evan's playing
Evan's big on the robots.
Yep.
Evan loves the big robots, and I think talking to him, he's been enjoying it.
I would imagine Tom Senior's playing it in the UK as well. Strategy's his kind of his bag. I'd be surprised if Tom wasn't on that shit.
I don't think I'll play it. I
think I'm probably too stupid to play it.
Yeah, that's what I like when Evan was describing it and saying like each individual part has health and stats, and I can see that just getting someone off, but I would just be stressed.
I think I'd really struggle with the heat management stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff.
Like I'd always be worried about overheating to the point where I wouldn't be able to enjoy myself.
Yeah, it's a toughie.
It's like kind of almost like when you have weapons which have durability and your blade goes blunt. I'm always like, oh
my god,
I can't enjoy using the blade because I feel every swing making it blunter.
It's true.
I imagine overheating's the same.
Yeah. We're not all big robot heads. I'm sorry, but I appreciate it from a distance.
Oh, I've got an answer to the question. I've still been thinking about it. I would like to play through the whole XCOM 2 campaign, but as the aliens.
Ooh.
Could be cool.
That'd be really fun. Yeah. I mean, in the multiplayer, you can take control of some of them, so...
I don't play multiplayer.
Yeah, no one does. No one does in XCOM, but... I mean,
it's there. Sweet. Especially with the...
there.
Especially with the Nemesis aliens. I can't remember what they're called now, but like the super bad ones.
That'd be tight.
That'd be sweet.
I gotta go back and finish that. You ever finish?
Yeah, I finished all of it.
Right on. It was a fucking good expansion. Announced at the PC Gaming Show last year. Hey. Thanks for the question. Ace Rosen. Hey, how you doing? Why aren't there more games like Hacknet and Orwell, Ignorance is Strength, i.e. games that encourage the free-form exploration of an internet or computer, like a simulated internet computer? It's a really interesting and cool concept. So, I don't know. I think one reason is that, it's hard to, I think, design an interesting UI, or at least a believable UI. And B, it's hard to like design a game within that, like a space that is meant to simulate something you're already used to using, without sort of breaking your expectations for the experience. And have you played either Orwell or Hacknet?
No, I'm familiar with Orwell. It made me think though, like a game that if he likes that sort of game, a game I really loved late last year was called Simulacra.
Okay.
I think it was called Simulacrum.
I'll find a link here.
We reviewed it, but anyway, it's a found phone game where you're interacting with all the social media and stuff on this phone that you found to try and track down a missing person. And you're kind of like using Messenger and stuff to like talk to people she knew and going through her emails. And obviously I've made it sound super creepy, but it's that similar kind of like using systems that you're familiar with from every day to kind of go on a mysterious journey. I loved it. It was one of my favourite things I've played in the last sort of 6 months or so. We played it with my other half. We played it together on the laptop. It's really good fun. Yeah, I think you'd like it a lot, actually. Have you played it?
I have not.
It's really good. Like, play it with Adriana. I think you'd enjoy it. Because it's not... You can play it in like a night. I think we did it in like a night and a half.
Cool. And I've seen Orwell. I've seen people playing Orwell around the office, and it looks really neat. And it's got this episodic structure now. So there's, I think the first season, or I don't know how they're doing it overall, is complete. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know why there are not more. Probably because it's hard to sell them. It's hard. It's like not flashing a trailer to show like a computer interface, and it's tough to do. But they exist, and they'll trickle out. I know. It's not exactly the same, but her story. And
I was going to say her story's got a bit of that about it as well, isn't it? Like kind of investigating data records and stuff.
I'm forgetting the name. I don't know if he's actually named it, but gosh, what's his name? Sam
Barlow.
Sam Barlow.
He's doing the War Games thing.
He did the War Games one, so you can go watch/play that now. I haven't messed with that too much, and he's got another Her Story-esque game planned, I believe. So
should be cool.
It's happening. It's just the indies are the ones making it happen.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's see. Any other questions? Kunifu, has anyone mentioned Atomic Heart? Yeah, dude. Open up the show. Awesome. Well, looks like that's all the questions we have right now. And
does no one want to ask about cards?
Fuck no, man.
Got 30 seconds to ask.
And we'll open up 10 seconds for questions about cards. I don't think it's gonna happen, Tim. 10 seconds of silence for cards. Bad. No one's gonna ask about cards. Yeah, I think that's going to do it for this week's show. Thanks, Tim.
Will I be back for a hat trick next? Oh, there's a question.
Oh! Jules. Oh, Tiger said, I'm sorry, I missed that. No, we answered that. Tiger said, I'm loving Battletech. Y'all reviewed it. Oh. We answered that, Jules.
That's not a card question.
Come on, Jules. It's not a card question. Dead to me. Sorry, what were you saying?
Maybe I'll be back next week for the hat trick.
Well, you know what? I'm not going to be here next week, so...
Then maybe I won't.
I don't think so. I'm forcefully breaking your streak.
Shit.
But thanks for hanging out to talk about Destiny 2.
No, my pleasure.
And Thanos and that 2 Point Hospital. All pretty interesting things happening right now in games.
If you are in the PC Gamer Club, we have got a Destiny 2 clan that's in some disrepair. But if you want to join and play some games with me, I'll be down. Yeah,
actually, there's a decent movement about a dozen or so people have been getting into it, and some people have not played before. So if you're new to Destiny, I know there's some people starting up. So hop into the club and join them and squad up. Cool. Well, until next week. Well, not next week. I won't be here again. So show going on hiatus for 1 week while I go to LA to see things. But we'll be back the week after for sure, and we will see you then.